Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Everything Vive. Happy Monday. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I am Zane here with Ronnie. Ronnie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. It was a long, busy, hectic weekend. I'm hoping to catch up on my sleep. I think you are too later tonight, right?
Yeah, it's been a long weekend,
But an exciting one, and we actually have some great news for you guys, both VR and Vive related. And we'll start with the Vive stuff, just because it's a little bit quicker and it's feel good news. So just another award that the HTC Vive has won. It's the Wearable Award for VR Headset of the Year. No biggie. But also included with that, Valve got an award for the lab-winning Best VR Experience of the Year. So, it's just nice to see that in a crowded field with PSVR coming out, with, Oculus having so much cloud and so much household name recognition, that HTC's, getting the recognition that they deserve. So,
yeah, no, I agree. And especially the lab in general. I mean, it's well deserved for an award because it's just such a good experience, and literally every one of those, mini experiences in the lab is super polished and enjoyable in and of themselves. So, I'm glad that, people are reinforcing how good of an experience that is, and hopefully we'll be seeing or hearing at least more from Valve soon.
No, absolutely. I mean, the lab and specifically playing Longboat was pretty much what sold me on getting a Vive in the first place. I just played nothing like it. And, like you've been alluding to, we have no idea what's coming down the pipeline for Valve for like a full-length feature game yet, which, just makes it that much more exciting. And so, whatever they come out with in 2017, hopefully they come out with something in 2017. It's just hopefully going to be as polished, and maybe it might even win the same award this time next year. Who knows? But moving on, we'll move on to regular VR stuff now, not necessarily Vive related, because there are some cool things happening around the VR world. The first one for sports fans, if you are a fan of basketball, fan of the NBA will now be streaming games in VR throughout the regular season. And so some of the quick details on that are, they've teamed up with NextVR, and they're going to be streaming one game a week every Tuesday night. And in order to get access to this, you need to have NBA League Pass, which is about $200, and it's the same feature it's the same service that they've offered before. I think it just gives you access to a bunch of extra games during the season, but now an added feature is that you'll be able to stream that specific Tuesday night game in virtual reality. Now, currently, this is only available for Samsung Gear VR, but they are planning to roll it out to other platforms. So we'll keep an ear out for when that will hit the Vive. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And just more about the internal mechanics or the technical side. In it, you can only see 180-degree view. So I'm assuming they'll probably give you some pretty good seats, maybe near courtside for VR watchers or VR people tuning in, and you'll be able to see the court in front of you. But if you turn around, it's not like you'll be able to see, people eating their hot dogs and nachos and stuff behind you. Instead, you'll get a big game board of like statistics and all the other things that are happening in the game. So, just a really cool development. I don't have a Samsung Gear VR, but I do like watching. I'd love to actually just see a game like this. I don't know. What do you think, Ronnie?
Yeah, no, I think it sounds really cool. And I was kind of curious. I almost think having the 180-degree view rather than the 360 will be, a better use of the technology, because maybe that'll get away from some of that, like fisheye, like kind of distortion that you get when you're turning all the way around in a 360 video. Like maybe focusing on a 180-degree plane, the view will look better. And realistically, if you're trying to watch a basketball game to begin with, you're not really that interested in looking behind you. So, I'd love to check it out just to see how well it does, and if the 180-degree views, end up being better than the 360. I mean, that is something that, at the very least, I'm very interested in trying. And then from there, depending on what you're able to see on the court and how immersive it is and all of that kind of stuff, it sounds like it could be pretty neat, especially for someone that's never, gotten to sit up close at a game like that. Seeing the scale of the players and everything, especially, if you're sitting there on ground level, is something that a lot of people haven't seen. So that sounds really cool. And I really do hope it comes to the Vive, because that would be something. I mean, I guess getting NBA League is not a league pass isn't cheap, but I'm a big NBA fan, so at some point I might be interested in watching more of those games anyway. So if they did offer the VR stuff, that would definitely be pushing me more in the direction of getting a pass. So.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I like basketball. I follow basketball. I wouldn't say that I would ever get an NBA League Pass under normal settings, but if this did come to the Vive, I would definitely be interested, just because it would be something cool to check out. It's like another VR experience. Yeah, it costs $200 compared to some of the other stuff that you find on Steam, but it's cool to see the NBA and sports really pushing the limit here in terms of virtual reality, because we need to find other real world applications. Not necessarily real world, but it's cool to find other people using and utilizing the scale of VR, the immersiveness of VR, and like you said, if those seats are courtside and at mid court, I mean those are seats that nobody else around the world, very few people have access to. They probably cost hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars to get on a regular basis or for a good game. But here you can get it for $200 and a Samsung Gear VR, which is on, the affordable side of VR, or the entry, as an entry point. And for those who already have, the 150,000 people who have a Vive, and, whatever the numbers are for Oculus and the other platforms out there, and even PlayStation VR now, I'm sure the numbers are rising for them. You're going to have a lot of people who might tune in just to tune in. So this could be a really big thing, I think, for the NBA. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Yeah. And I was just going to say, I mean, just in addition to that, I mean, while having the VR gear experience especially is not going to, drive people to pay the $200 pass necessarily, if you already have it and you happen to have a Gear VR, it's a really cool bonus. And I think in general, it's just it's exciting to think that more and more networks and content providers that you may already have subscriptions for could provide content like this. Like, I know most people have Netflix accounts now, and even if you have a cable box, using HBO Go or all of these different various services, it would be cool if more and more of these content providers kind of decide to provide some of these VR experiences. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to believe that something is going to happen in 2017 in terms of somebody taking this to the next level. Like, I was actually genuinely shocked that the NBA was really trying to implement this, because VR is not new, but it really hit the mainstream just in 2016 with Oculus and the HTC Vive coming out in April of this year. And so it's in what, half a year they were able to implement something in terms of a platform where they could allow people to experience stuff in VR. And I got to believe that, the NFL and MLB are taking notes. They're going to be right behind the NBA in terms of making sure something is available to consumers for next year, because by this time next year, or whenever the season starts to roll around, even more people are going to have this. The technology is going to be, I'm sure, a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more financially available for those. And so, yeah, I mean, Netflix, HBO, like, I'm just waiting for some of these VR movies to come out. Speaking of which, All You Met, I'm just going to throw that in there, is available on Steam VR, which I think is the longest VR film experience right now. But we'll talk about that more later.
Okay.
But all right, well, moving on, I'd say this is the biggest news that we have for the previous week. And we got another big fish in the pond, Microsoft. And so they made a very quick and easy announcement that they will release a free Windows 10 update next year in 2017 called the Creators Update. And so this is coming out next spring. What it'll give you the ability to do is plug a VR headset into your computer. And they are working with top manufacturers like Dell, Lenovo, and Asus to create headsets for this platform that they're trying to run on their side. And according to them, like, these will be much more affordable, starting at $299, which, again, no chump change. But when you compare it to the Vive and Oculus, where the full experience comes between $600 to $800, $299 is closer to PSVR. And actually, the other side of that affordability option is the fact that you won't need such high-end computers. They are saying that you'll be able to run them on PCs with much more basic specs. And so I think they're saying that the minimum, you could probably get a computer that runs those specs for about $500. And we'll be diving into those specs once we have a little bit more details. These are just the quick numbers that they have thrown out. But lastly, the point that I saw was that they're going to have free range of motion without a camera tracking you, which is going to change the game. So I don't know. What do you think, Ryan?
That's the biggest part of it, I think, is their claim that they're going to be using inside-out tracking technology within these headsets. And I'll be curious. I mean, if it works well, that is going to be a huge innovation. And we're probably going to see it. I think Oculus had mentioned inside-out tracking when they talked about their Santa Cruz standalone, kit that they're working on right now, kind of behind the scenes, and we know that Google also was working on that kind of technology with their Tango initiative cell phones and whatnot. But this is the first time that someone's really, given a firm launch date and a solely VR focused, implementation of that. So we'll have to see how it does. I very quickly was just looking around to see what people's thoughts were on that online, and I did notice some people saying, well, the HoloLens does have somewhat of an inside-out tracking type system, and while it works pretty well, every now and then there is some like hologram drift or whatnot. Basically, just from when you move around too much, it doesn't fully, it might take a couple, milliseconds or whatnot, and you kind of notice when it's tracked. So we'll see. But if it's even somewhat good, and it's a cheaper alternative to people not having to, have additional sensors and large spaces in order to be able to move around in VR, then I think it is a really good development. And yeah, I'd be curious, since it's starting at $300 or $299, what the quality level of that's going to be. There's still a lot of unanswered questions as far as what kind of experience, a system like this will be able to provide. But nonetheless, I think it's good that we're going to have some middle grounds between, that high end Vive and Rift experience versus, the lower end Gear VR and Google Cardboard type experiences. So there's a lot of room right in that middle ground. And so hopefully, especially with its partners, Microsoft will be able to put something out there that works well and that people grab onto, because, with stagnating sales of some of the headsets, not including PlayStation VR, which hopefully is kind of reinvigorating things. I think the more players that come to the scene, the more potential there are for people to get interested in VR generally, and then to also buy the high end systems as well. So,
no, agreed. I mean, I would say that this is more so. Not that there's like direct competitors aside from maybe Oculus and HTC Vive, but this seems like it would be on the level of PSVR, because most people will have, I'd say, a computer that can run a VR headset like this. And if you're able to get, a headset for under $4 or $500, that would probably be similar to the investment you'd be making on the PlayStation VR. And so I think that in terms of just like what you're talking about levels, the the HTC Vive, the Oculus Rift, and Oculus Touch that is coming out that's going to be like the niche. How would you say, like, I guess for the people that are like really invested in VR. But it's great to see that they're creating, all these companies are starting to fill out like a gradient or a spectrum of virtual reality where people can get in at different access points, and it doesn't become this whole like, oh, okay, no, I don't have $2,000 to throw into, just to throw into getting into VR. You have the basics with Samsung VR and Google Cardboard. You have for gamers, you're going to have PlayStation VR. What I think this will be able to do for Microsoft is, Microsoft, they're not necessarily, obviously they have the Xbox for gaming, but I mean, they're such a big company that is in so many different industries that, remember the conversation that I had with Logan Olson from Soundstage talking about the corporate side, or the, what is it going to do for companies rather than just the entertainment and gaming side. So it'll just be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, that's an interesting point though about the business side, the corporate side of things, because I was trying to think of what, obviously with lower spec requirements. I mean, it's not like the headset's going to be magic. With lower spec requirements, it also necessitates kind of a lower end experience, or, computers that are only $500 aren't going to be able to push the same type of graphical fidelity that a more high end system pushes. But I think that's probably exactly right. I mean, Microsoft, in addition to maybe some low end games, with this creators initiative, they're probably pushing just apps generally. And so, in addition to a lot of the more casual stuff that might come out, it would be interesting to see people push things, in more of a business sense, maybe some productivity applications. You never know what people are able to come up with. So even with a low fidelity, lower resolution screen, for example, while it might not be perfect for all things, maybe, there are some creative uses out there that might actually be worth using in a business place. Who knows? So I guess that is a possibility.
No, agreed. I mean, especially for like bigger corporations where you're going to have, a lot of them already have decently well running computers for all of their employees. Now, if you can make the investment for $300 to get VR and then whatever application it is that's going to make your employee's life much easier and make everything much more efficient and smooth. I don't know that we're necessarily there yet because it hasn't been created, but it's coming. Like you got to wait for someone who's going to have the creativity to say like, oh, you know what, this is a problem for me, but if I use virtual reality, like it becomes 80%, 90% easier for me to do.
Yeah, certain things, like I would think like certain types of graphic design or certain types of I don't know. You always see those kind of, you see people mention stuff like in the real estate world and interior design and all that kind of stuff that, being able to go into a space and see scale and see positioning could be helpful. And I could see where like a cheaper headset that's able to connect to someone's computer that already has information on it and kind of work on that way. I can see that being useful. So.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about some of the applications that are out there already, like Thread Studio, for example, which, you can design your own clothes. That's not necessarily, I don't know. I mean, I feel like something like that is gonna be whatever pushes the limit, or like you said earlier, that kind of got my brain thinking with graphic design. I mean, you already have something like Tilt Brush, but if somebody's able to go in and create even more nuanced, designs or graphical things, whatever, however that works. I'm not in that space, so I have no graphic design skills. But, if people who try Tilt Brush have an absolute blast with it, and if you have somebody who has those skills, has that technical knowledge, and is able to apply it in a way where maybe we will get to a place where you design that 360-degree experience for people, I think that could be really, really cool. So, I believe that is all I have for today. Ronnie, you got anything else?
Yeah, no, those are the big ones. So, and like usual, I'm sure we'll keep updated on how this stuff is looking as it gets closer to release. And I think the Microsoft stuff is releasing sometime in spring of 2017. Do you know when it said exactly?
No, all I saw was spring. I'm not sure if they've given a release date. If they have, then we'll make sure that we update that for next week. But
But we'll keep updating everyone on those specifics and other HTC Vive specifics, obviously.
also, I didn't see, because I was looking through, I didn't see anything about controllers for them.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That was the only thing that when I went and looked into that, I didn't see anything specifically for this project. I mean, I did run into some stuff talking about how Microsoft in the past had been looking into some haptic type stuff with, I think it was a development project they were working on, and they were using Oculus DevKit 2s, with the project. So I doubt it's necessarily tied to this, but yeah, they didn't really mention anything like that. So either they're working on something that they're not going to announce just quite yet, or this is just a standalone headset, and then you can use whatever else you might happen to have alongside it. But I would think there's going to be something like that, but maybe that's further down the road once they knock out more of the specifics.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they really got to have something, because if it's just a headset, that's, there's not many practical applications that you'd be able to do as compared to, the more top line headsets that you have out there. This would be just a more expensive version of like Samsung Gear VR or something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sure they have some ideas of what they're going to. Yeah, I'd be curious. I'm curious as to why they didn't really fully announce it.
I mean, we'll have to see. I'm sure they're going to have many, many more details for us after the holidays or something. So we'll continue to follow it. You got anything else?
No. I think that's about it. So
all right. Well, we will go ahead and cut this episode here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you have a fantastic Monday and a fantastic rest of your week. We got another interview coming up for you on Wednesday, and yeah, stay tuned. We'll talk again very, very soon. Take care.